Imagine it's just after midnight. The rain has finally stopped. The air smells like wet earth and old leaves. You're walking through a forgotten churchyard, guided only by the weak beam of your flashlight. Everything is silent, too silent. Then you see it, a single stone chair, old, weathered, almost inviting. Someone beside you whispers, "Go ahead, sit in it." You laugh. It's just a chair. But before you can lower yourself onto the cold stone, you remember something. People say, anyone who sits there will meet the devil himself. Not someday, not symbolically, face to face. It sounds ridiculous, until you discover that for centuries, people have refused to sit in that chair, not because someone told them to, but because of what allegedly happened to the people who ignored the warning. So, how did an ordinary chair become one of Britain's darkest legends? And why, even today, do visitors still leave without touching it? Across the world, there are places where history and folklore become impossible to separate. Abandoned hospitals, forgotten forests, ancient castles, and lonely graveyards where every stone seems to hold a secret. But hidden among them is something surprisingly ordinary, a chair. No glowing symbols, no mysterious mechanisms, just a weathered seat carved from solid stone. Yet for hundreds of years, that chair has inspired stories of fear unlike almost anything else. It has been called cursed, haunted, even a gateway to something beyond human understanding. Some believe the devil himself once claimed it. Others argue it's simply an old legend that grew larger with every generation. And then there are those who insist they experienced something they still can't explain. Tonight, we're exploring the complete story behind one of Britain's most unsettling legends, the Devil's Chair. We'll uncover its history, separate fact from folklore, examine eyewitness accounts, explore psychological explanations, and ask a question that still has no definitive answer. Is this merely one of history's greatest ghost stories? Or did people avoid that chair for a very good reason? Long before ghost hunters arrived with cameras, before YouTube documentaries, before paranormal television, there was simply a cemetery, quiet, ancient, forgotten by most of the world. Deep within the grounds of St. Mary's Church, in the English village of Whitby, sits a stone chair unlike any other. By daylight, it hardly looks remarkable. Tourists often walk past it without realizing what they're seeing. Its surface is worn smooth after centuries of wind and rain. Moss grows across its edges, cracks spread through the stone like veins. It almost disappears into its surroundings, but locals know exactly what it is. They rarely call it by its official name, Instead, they call it the Devil's Chair. Unlike many haunted objects that appear in modern ghost stories, this legend stretches back hundreds of years. No one knows exactly when it began. That's one of the mystery's greatest strengths. Every generation inherited the story from the one before. Parents warned children. Church officials repeated the tale. Travelers carried it to neighboring towns. Eventually, the legend spread far beyond Whitby itself. But here's what's interesting. No historical record proves the chair was ever cursed. No ancient document confirms the devil ever appeared there. Instead, the story survives almost entirely through oral tradition. And oral traditions have an unusual way of evolving. Every storyteller adds something. Every listener remembers different details. Over hundreds of years, the legend becomes larger than history itself. Still, one detail never changes. Never sit in the chair. Some versions say Satan himself appears beside you. Others claim you'll witness your own death. Some believe you'll become possessed. Others say you'll simply disappear. The outcomes vary, but the warning always remains the same. Don't sit. And strangely, most people don't. Even skeptics. Even tourists who openly laugh at ghost stories. Many walk right up to it, Reach out, then hesitate, because somewhere in the back of every human mind lives a simple question: what if? That single question has kept countless people standing. But where did that fear actually come from? To answer that, we need to travel back several centuries to a town already famous for darkness. If you've never visited Whitby, it feels almost designed for ghost stories. Perched on England's northeastern coastline, the town rises from the sea beneath towering cliffs. Above everything stand the haunting ruins of Whitby Abbey. Its broken Gothic arches dominate the skyline like the skeleton of a forgotten kingdom. On foggy mornings, the abbey almost disappears into the mist. At night, only its silhouette remains. The atmosphere alone has inspired countless writers. Most famously, Bram Stoker visited Whitby in 1890. The town became one of the primary inspirations for Dracula. Many scenes from the novel, including Dracula's arrival by ship, were influenced directly by Whitby's dramatic coastline and ancient abbey. Dracula, Bram Stoker. Long before vampires entered popular culture, Whitby already carried centuries of superstition. The North Sea claimed countless sailors. Storms appeared without warning. Entire fishing crews vanished. Families waited at the harbor, watching empty horizons, never knowing whether their loved ones would return. Death wasn't unusual here. It was part of everyday life. Churchyards expanded, gravestones multiplied, legends flourished. In places where tragedy becomes common, people naturally search for explanations. Some blamed curses, others blamed restless spirits, and occasionally the devil himself. It's impossible to know exactly when the chair first entered local folklore. Historians generally agree that many versions of the legend appeared long after the chair itself existed. That's common with folklore. Ordinary objects slowly become extraordinary through generations of storytelling. The chair likely served a practical purpose originally. Some researchers believe it may have belonged to a respected church official. Others think it was simply decorative. No surviving evidence proves otherwise. But once fear attached itself to that stone seat, its original purpose no longer mattered. The legend became stronger than history, and eventually, visitors stopped asking what the chair was. They only asked, what happens if someone sits in it? That question would inspire stories that continue even today. Stories told by tourists, ghost hunters, and people who swear something was watching them. Here's where fact begins giving way to folklore. Unlike famous hauntings with police reports or newspaper archives, the Devil's Chair exists mostly through generations of local storytelling. That means separating truth from embellishment isn't easy. In fact, it may be impossible. According to some of the oldest versions of the legend, the chair was once occupied by the devil himself during moments when he supposedly visited the churchyard, not to terrorize people, simply to watch, to wait, to observe those who entered sacred ground. Another version claims the devil challenged anyone arrogant enough to take his seat. If they accepted, their fate was sealed. Exactly what happened afterward depends on who's telling the story. Some claimed victims became violently ill. Others supposedly suffered unexplained accidents within days. Some stories insist they died unexpectedly. None of these accounts have ever been historically verified. There are no surviving death records connecting mysterious fatalities to the chair. No church documents describe supernatural encounters. No contemporary witnesses left written testimony, and that's important to remember. From a historical perspective, these are legends, not established facts. Yet, legends don't survive for centuries unless they resonate with people. So why did this one endure? Part of the answer lies in psychology. Humans remember warnings far better than reassurances. If one villager claimed someone ignored the curse and later died, even by coincidence, the story would spread rapidly. Each retelling would strengthen the connection. Soon, Nobody would remember the coincidence, only the curse. It's a pattern found throughout human history. But then, modern visitors began reporting experiences of their own, experiences far more difficult to dismiss as medieval imagination, and those accounts are where this story becomes truly unsettling. By the late 20th century, the Devil's Chair had quietly become one of Whitby's most curious attractions, not because of advertisements, not because of television, but because people kept telling the same story. You shouldn't sit there. Tourists would arrive after hearing whispers from locals. Some laughed, some rolled their eyes, others immediately reached for their cameras. After all, how often do you get the chance to sit in the devil's own chair? And yet, something strange often happened. Many people never actually sat down. They would walk toward the chair with complete confidence, only to stop a few feet away. Some later described an overwhelming sense of unease. Not terror, just a feeling that something wasn't right. According to various visitors over the years, the cemetery suddenly felt unusually quiet. The temperature seemed to drop. The wind stopped. Birds disappeared. Even conversations became awkwardly silent. Now, none of these experiences prove anything supernatural. Old cemeteries naturally create powerful emotional responses. They remind us of mortality. They slow our breathing. They make us more aware of every sound and every silence. Psychologists call this expectation bias. When people enter a place expecting something frightening, their brains become hyper-alert. Every creaking branch, every shifting shadow, every unexpected breeze feels deeply significant. It's the same reason horror movies become scarier after someone whispers, "This really happened." Expectation changes perception. But even after accounting for psychology, some reports remain unusually consistent. Several visitors have claimed they felt an intense pressure in their chest while approaching the chair. Others described sudden dizziness. A few even reported headaches that disappeared almost immediately after walking away. Could anxiety alone explain those sensations? Absolutely. Stress triggers real physical symptoms. Increased heart rate, muscle tension, shallow breathing, even nausea. The human mind is remarkably powerful, yet believers ask an interesting question. If it's only anxiety, why do so many people experience it before they even know the full legend? It's impossible to verify those claims. Most are anecdotal, most were never formally documented, but together they helped keep the story alive, because every unexplained feeling became another piece of the legend. And legends feed on uncertainty. As paranormal investigations became increasingly popular during the late 1990s and early 2000s, the Devil's Chair naturally attracted ghost hunters. Armed with infrared cameras, audio recorders, electromagnetic field meters, and plenty of confidence, groups began visiting after dark. Their goal was simple. If something haunted the chair, they intended to capture it. Many investigations produced nothing. Hours passed with no unusual activity, no strange sounds, no mysterious figures, no compelling evidence, and that's important. The vast majority of investigations ended exactly the way skeptics would expect. Quiet, uneventful, perfectly ordinary, but every so often, someone claimed otherwise. One investigation described unexplained whispers recorded near the chair. The voices were faint, impossible to understand clearly. Supporters believed they were paranormal. Critics argued they were simply distant conversations carried by the wind. Another team reported unexplained camera malfunctions. Fresh batteries drained unexpectedly. Memory cards became corrupted. Equipment shut off without warning. Again, these events sound unsettling, but electronic failures happen frequently during outdoor investigations. Cold temperatures, humidity, old equipment, all can produce similar results. Perhaps the most famous claims involve photographs. Over the years, Visitors have shared images showing what appear to be shadowy human figures standing near the chair. Some pictures reveal unusual mists. Others contain strange streaks of light. Believers point to these images as evidence of spiritual activity. Photography experts usually offer simpler explanations: long exposures, lens flare, dust particles reflecting flash, moisture in the air, digital image compression. Every effect has a perfectly reasonable explanation, and yet, reason doesn't always erase mystery. Because photographs capture only a single moment, they cannot explain what someone felt before pressing the shutter, or what made them turn toward the chair in the first place. That's where the legend continues to thrive, not in clear evidence, but in deeply personal experiences. Experiences that can rarely be proven or disproven. One of the most fascinating aspects of the Devil's Chair isn't the chair itself. It's what happens inside the minds of the people who visit it. Imagine standing in an ancient cemetery. You're surrounded by weathered gravestones. The abbey ruins tower above you. Fog drifts across uneven ground. The air is damp. The silence feels unusually heavy. Then someone quietly tells you, "That's the Devil's Chair." Instantly, everything changes. The chair hasn't moved. The weather hasn't changed. Nothing physical is different. Only your understanding. And yet, your heartbeat quickens. Your senses sharpen. Every tiny sound suddenly matters. This phenomenon has been studied for decades. Our expectations shape our experiences far more than we realize. Researchers have demonstrated that simply telling people a location is haunted can dramatically increase reports of paranormal experiences. People become more attentive, more anxious, more likely to interpret ordinary events as extraordinary. A creaking tree branch becomes footsteps. A shifting cloud becomes a shadow figure. A gust of wind feels like someone passing beside you. None of this means witnesses are lying. Quite the opposite. Their experiences are completely real to them. Fear doesn't require ghosts. The brain can create powerful emotional responses all on its own. But here's where things become more complicated. Not everyone who visits knows the legend beforehand. Occasionally, travelers have reported feeling uncomfortable first, only learning about the Devil's Chair afterward. Could that simply be coincidence? Of course, ancient cemeteries naturally make many people uneasy, but believers see those stories differently. They argue the chair itself possesses something impossible to measure, something science simply hasn't discovered yet. No study has confirmed that idea. No instrument has detected supernatural energy. Still, the question remains, can a place become frightening because of its history? Or does its history become frightening because something was always there? Britain's haunted landscape. To truly understand the Devil's Chair, we need to look beyond Whitby. Britain is filled with haunted landmarks, ancient castles, forgot ruins, abandoned prisons, Roman roads, medieval churches. Nearly every village has at least one story involving ghosts, curses, or unexplained events. Why? Part of the answer lies in age. Many buildings have stood for nearly 1,000 years. Generations lived there. Generations died there. Wars passed through. Plagues swept across entire communities. Countless tragedies unfolded long before modern record-keeping existed. Those memories survive through folklore, not official history. The Devil's Chair belongs to that tradition. It's more than a haunted object. It's part of a much larger cultural landscape where history and imagination constantly overlap. In many ways, the chair represents something universal. Every culture has places people instinctively avoid. Forests, crossroads, old wells, certain trees, lonely bridges. Whether those places are genuinely dangerous or simply surrounded by powerful stories, the result is often the same. People hesitate. They lower their voices. They move a little faster. They don't stay longer than necessary. Fear itself becomes part of the location. And perhaps that's the true power of the devil's chair. Not whether it's actually cursed, but whether generations of belief have transformed an ordinary stone seat into something psychologically unforgettable. But the strangest chapter of this story may have arrived only recently, because the internet changed everything. For centuries, the legend of the devil's chair spread the old-fashioned way. One person told another, parents warned their children. Locals shared the story with curious travelers. The legend grew slowly, almost organically. Then the internet arrived, and suddenly, a story once known mostly in a small corner of England could reach millions of people overnight. Travel blogs began mentioning the chair, paranormal forums filled with first-hand accounts, ghost hunting websites listed it among Britain's most haunted locations. Eventually, videos appeared. Some were simple travel documentaries. Others promised viewers they would witness something supernatural, a flashlight flickering unexpectedly, a strange noise caught on camera, an unexplained shadow moving through the cemetery. Millions watched, comments poured in. Some viewers insisted they had experienced the same thing. Others dismissed everything as clever editing. And then came social media. Short videos with dramatic music, slow zooms, night vision footage, stories told in whispered voices. The devil's chair became more than a local legend. It became internet folklore. That's an important distinction. Traditional folklore changes slowly. Internet folklore evolves almost instantly. One unusual photograph becomes hundreds. One unexplained experience inspires thousands of copycat stories. Within days, a simple rumor can become accepted as fact. Take one of the most common online claims. Some posts insist that anyone who sits in the chair will die within a year. Others shorten it to 6 months. A few even claim death comes within days. It sounds terrifying, but there's one problem. There is absolutely no verified historical evidence supporting any of those timelines. No documented list of victims, no official investigations, no pattern that researchers have been able to confirm. The dates seem to change depending on who's telling the story, and that's exactly how internet myths evolve. A dramatic detail gets added, someone repeats it, another person believes it. Eventually, people stop asking where the claim came from. They simply assume it's always been part of the legend. But not every online story can be dismissed so easily, because among the exaggerations, there are a handful of experiences that remain deeply personal. Stories that don't try to convince anyone. People who simply describe what they felt and leave the conclusions up to you. Let's be clear, the following stories are anecdotal. They have not been independently verified. There are no police reports proving supernatural events occurred. No scientific evidence confirming paranormal activity. These are simply experiences shared by people who visited the chair. Nothing more, nothing less. One visitor described arriving just before sunset. The churchyard was quiet. Only a few tourists remained. As they approached the chair, they noticed something unusual. Every sound seemed to disappear. No birds, no wind, no distant traffic, just silence. They later said it wasn't ordinary silence. It felt heavy, as if the entire cemetery was holding its breath. They chose not to sit. Years later, they still remembered that feeling more vividly than the chair itself. Another visitor reported seeing someone sitting in the chair from a distance. The figure appeared completely still. Assuming it was another tourist, they continued walking, but after looking away for only a few seconds, the chair was empty. There was nowhere obvious the person could have gone. Could it have been a trick of the light? Someone leaving unnoticed? Almost certainly. Yet the witness insisted the image remained crystal clear in their memory. Another account comes from an amateur photographer. They spent nearly an hour taking pictures around the churchyard. Everything appeared normal. It wasn't until reviewing the photographs at home that they noticed something strange. In several images, a dark shape appeared standing beside the chair. Not perfectly human, not completely shadow, just something. Photography experts suggested a common explanation: lens flare, motion blur, an object moving through the frame. Perfectly reasonable possibilities. Still, the photographer never returned. Then there are the emotional experiences, visitors describing sudden sadness, unexpected anxiety, a powerful urge to leave. Again, these reactions are not unusual in places associated with death. Cemeteries often encourage quiet reflection. They remind us of loss, of time, of our own mortality. Those emotions can arrive without warning, but believers argue something different. They believe certain places somehow preserve emotional energy, not ghosts in the traditional sense, but echoes, fragments of moments long forgotten. Modern science has found no evidence supporting that idea, yet it remains one of the most persistent theories in paranormal research. And perhaps that's because everyone has visited a place that simply felt different. The Devil's Chair may be one of those places, or it may simply be one of the world's greatest examples of expectation shaping experience. Either way, the mystery continues. What if the Devil's Chair doesn't need anything supernatural at all? What if the real power of the legend exists entirely inside the human brain? Psychologists have long studied something known as the nocebo effect. Most people have heard of the placebo effect. Take a harmless pill while believing it's medicine, and your symptoms may genuinely improve. The nocebo effect works in the opposite direction. Expect something bad to happen, and your body may begin producing real physical symptoms. Headaches, dizziness, nausea, rapid heartbeat, sweaty palms, even pain. No curse required, simply expectation. Now imagine walking toward a chair you've been told is cursed by the devil himself. You've read frightening stories online. You've watched paranormal videos. Your heart is already racing before you even see it. Every sensation becomes amplified. Every sound feels meaningful. Every coincidence seems connected. Your brain starts building a story, not because it's trying to deceive you, but because that's exactly what human brains evolved to do. We search for patterns, even when none exist. Our ancestors survived because they assumed danger. If a bush moved unexpectedly, it was safer to imagine a predator than the wind. Today, that same instinct influences how we experience haunted places. The Devil's Chair becomes more than stone. It becomes a symbol, a trigger for ancient survival instincts buried deep inside all of us. But psychology doesn't answer every question, because even researchers admit some experiences remain difficult to explain completely. Not necessarily supernatural, simply unusual, unexpected, unresolved. And that's where science becomes surprisingly humble. Good scientists don't claim to know everything. They simply follow the evidence. Right now, the evidence neither proves nor disproves the legend, which leaves us in a fascinating position, standing between skepticism and belief, exactly where the Devil's Chair has remained for centuries. To understand why this legend has survived for so long, we have to look beyond the chair itself. Throughout European history, the devil was often used as a warning. Parents warned children that the devil waited in lonely forests. Travelers were told never to stop at certain crossroads after sunset. Old bridges, ancient wells, abandoned churches, countless places were said to belong to something evil. These stories weren't always meant to be taken literally. Many served practical purposes. A dangerous cliff became the devil's path. A deep river became the devil's crossing. A crumbling ruin became the devil's house. Fear kept people away from places where accidents were likely. Over time, the warning outlived the original danger. The devil's chair may have followed the same path. Perhaps someone wanted visitors to respect the churchyard. Perhaps the chair marked an important religious site. Maybe children kept climbing on it, and adults invented a terrifying story to stop them. No one knows, because the earliest origins have been lost to history. But whether the story began as a practical warning or something far stranger, its effect has been undeniable. Hundreds of years later, people still hesitate, still whisper, still glance over their shoulder before leaving. And perhaps that's the greatest mystery of all. Not whether the devil ever sat in the chair, but why the story refuses to die. In an age where nearly everyone carries a high-definition camera in their pocket, you might expect the mystery of the devil's chair to have been solved by now. After all, if something truly supernatural happened there, surely someone would have captured undeniable proof. But that's never happened. Over the last 2 decades, countless paranormal enthusiasts, historians, photographers, and curious tourists have visited the chair. Some arrived determined to prove the legend. Others came hoping to debunk it. Many left with nothing more than a few photographs and an interesting story. Professional historians generally agree on one point: the chair itself is real. The churchyard is real. The centuries of local folklore are real. But beyond that, the evidence becomes increasingly uncertain. No authenticated historical documents describe the devil appearing there. No verified records connect the chair to mysterious deaths. No scientific investigation has uncovered anything that defies known natural laws, and yet none of that has weakened the legend. If anything, the lack of definitive answers has made it even stronger. Because mysteries survive where certainty cannot. Every unanswered question becomes another reason to return, another reason to wonder, another reason to ask, what if? There's an interesting question hidden beneath every ghost story. Why do people continue believing, even when proof remains elusive? The answer may have very little to do with ghosts. Human beings are storytellers. Long before written history, we pass knowledge through myths, legends, campfire tales, warnings disguised as monsters. Every generation inherited stories from the last. Some explained natural disasters, others warned against dangerous places. Many helped communities understand death, loss, or the unknown. The devil's chair fits perfectly into that tradition. It's more than a stone seat. It's a story that has survived because people keep telling it. Think about it. If the chair were moved into a museum tomorrow, placed under bright lights, surrounded by information plaques, would it still feel frightening? Probably not, because the legend isn't created by the chair alone. It's created by its setting, the old churchyard, the silence, the ancient gravestones, the ruined abbey watching from above, the sea wind drifting through the trees, and most importantly, your imagination. The human brain dislikes unanswered questions. When information is incomplete, we instinctively fill in the gaps. That's why shadows sometimes resemble faces. That's why unfamiliar sounds seem meaningful. That's why a simple chair can become one of Britain's most enduring paranormal legends. Not because we know what happened there, but because we don't. For every famous legend, there are dozens of forgotten ones. Stories shared only among families, whispered between neighbors, never written down. The devil's chair is surrounded by these smaller tales. Some locals once claimed animals avoided the area at night. Others insisted dogs refused to walk past the chair. A few believed birds rarely landed on it. These stories appear in local folklore and modern retellings, but none have been consistently documented or scientifically verified. Still, they reveal something important. Legends grow through repetition. Each storyteller adds a small detail, another removes one, a third exaggerates something they only heard secondhand. After decades or centuries, it's impossible to know which parts, if any, began with a real event. This happens all over the world. One unexplained incident becomes folklore. Folklore becomes tradition. Tradition becomes local identity. Eventually, visitors arrive expecting something extraordinary, and sometimes expectation alone is enough to create an unforgettable experience. Perhaps that's exactly what has happened here. Or perhaps some questions truly have no simple answer. Let's imagine one final scene. The sun has disappeared beyond the horizon. The churchyard is empty. The last visitors have gone home. Clouds drift across the moon. Your flashlight illuminates the narrow stone path, and there it is, the devil's chair, exactly as people have described it for generations. Quiet, still, completely ordinary. You remind yourself of the facts. There is no verified evidence that anyone has been harmed simply by sitting there. No confirmed curse, no documented encounter with the devil, nothing that would satisfy scientific standards of proof. You know all of that, and yet, as you take one final step toward the chair, you hesitate. Not because you believe, not entirely, but because belief isn't always necessary. Sometimes a story is enough. You begin wondering, if I sit down and something happens, will I always wonder whether it started here? That single thought may be the true curse. Not death, not demons, not possession, but doubt. The kind that follows you home. The kind that quietly lingers in the back of your mind long after you've left the cemetery. Because once an idea takes hold, it's remarkably difficult to let go. So, what have we actually discovered? The Devil's Chair is a real stone chair located in the churchyard of St. Mary's Church in Whitby, England. Its connection to the devil, to curses, and to supernatural encounters comes from centuries of folklore rather than verified historical evidence. There are no confirmed records proving the chair has harmed anyone. There is no scientific evidence demonstrating paranormal activity, but there are stories, lots of them, stories passed from generation to generation, personal experiences that remain impossible to verify, moments of fear, of silence, of unexplained emotion. For skeptics, the explanation is straightforward: expectation, suggestion, the psychology of fear, the incredible power of the human mind. For believers, the chair is something else entirely, a place where history has left behind more than memories, a place where the boundary between our world and something older feels unusually thin. Both perspectives have one thing in common: neither can fully explain why this legend continues to captivate people hundreds of years later. Perhaps the mystery isn't hidden inside the chair. Perhaps it's hidden inside us, inside our endless fascination with the unknown. Because sometimes the questions we can't answer become the stories we never forget. If you enjoyed exploring this mystery and you love true horror, urban legends, forgotten history, and unexplained phenomena grounded in both fact and folklore, be sure to subscribe. Because every abandoned building, every forgotten road, every ancient cemetery has a story waiting to be uncovered. And sometimes the most terrifying places aren't the ones where something happened. They're the places where no one can agree on what happened at all. So, if you ever find yourself walking through the quiet churchyard of Whitby and you notice an old stone chair waiting in the shadows, you'll have a choice: sit down or keep walking. But before you decide, ask yourself one last question. If you truly believed nothing would happen, why did you hesitate? Until next time.